Santa Maria, Madre di Dio, prega per noi peccatori, adesso e nell'ora della nostra morte. Amen. Tu sei benedetta fra le donne e benedetto il frutto del tuo seno, Gesù.
Hello and welcome. I'm Emma Wallace, back with a brand new episode of the InfoMigrants podcast, Tales from the Border. Today, myself and my colleague Arafatul Islam are in Sicily, the largest island in the Mediterranean and a gateway to Europe for those crossing the central Mediterranean from the coasts of North Africa.
Wow, the journey is always difficult. It doesn't depend on the period. It's always difficult. It's a journey of death.
You can try, then buy, no problem. You can try, then buy. Perfectly try. I have camera.
It's very difficult. They try to survive there because fortunately most of them, they are without documents. After the Salvini law, most of them, they lost their document through the process. So they have no place to go.
You could say that migration is in Sicily's DNA. The island has been a melting pot for centuries. Successive waves of invasions and exchange with its Mediterranean neighbours, from the Phoenicians to the Greeks, Arabs, Normans and Bourbons, have made the land, food, culture and people what they are today. According to Italy's national statistics, in 2022, around 5 million foreigners were resident in Italy as a whole, which has a population of about 59 million. About 1 million more were born elsewhere but have since become Italian citizens. The number of unregistered migrants is more difficult to quantify. Some estimates put those living without papers in the hundreds of thousands, some of whom currently reside in Sicily. Arafat and I travelled to Sicily to record the podcast in September 2022. By the end of that year, more than 104,000 migrants arrived in Italy, most to Sicily, by routes across the Mediterranean, according to the Italian Interior Ministry's own data. More already arrived in January and February 2023 than they did in the same months the previous year, suggesting arrivals could be on an upward trend.
Ocean Viking. This is enough for my directed.
This is Ocean Viking, go ahead.
Good morning, ma'am. Can you confirm me if you have answered to event 612?
61 Alpha, Ocean Viking. They will prepare the boat landing for you.
Although migrants picked up by private rescue ships like Ocean Viking and Geo Barents feature largely in the news headlines and political speeches, mostly talking about how damaging migration can be, the majority of those who made it over the sea to Italy in 2022 were actually rescued by the Italian Coast Guard and Border Police, or arrived under their own steam and landed on beaches on Sicily and its satellite islands like Lampedusa. Arab and African influences are scattered throughout the island, from Sicilian dialect to its cuisine and the fruit, vegetables and grapes grown here and exported across Italy, Europe and the world. Today's migrants work hard in many of Sicily's key industries, from farming to fishing, tourism to hospitality. In big cities like Palermo, integration feels like it is working. Some migrant communities are well established and own businesses, sell merchandise and run restaurants.
No, 15, no, 15.
But behind the high gates and silence surrounding organised crime, both the Italian mafia and their counterparts in the migrant communities are busy exploiting those who are most vulnerable, which includes migrants without papers. In some parts of the island, ghettos, no-go areas and camps where groups of migrants live in squalor and work for well below the minimum wage can still be found, like in the west of the island, in the area around Campobello di Mazara. Here, stretches of dusty land and derelict buildings are sandwiched between olive groves and abandoned cement factories, where even the police avoid entering. Huge piles of rubbish stand near the entrance, as high as a small car. Scouts are posted on the road to deter those who are not wanted, like journalists, from entering.
My name is Johnny Afun, a translator. I'm from originally Nigeria. I've been in Italy for the past 16 years and I've been working in these sectors as a translator for the past 12 years.
Johnny also crossed the Mediterranean to reach Italy. We meet him in western Sicily on a dusty road not far from the olive groves waiting to be harvested.
I was really, really scared. A young boy of 22 years old. But you know, sometimes we are looking for a brighter future. In a place where you don't have no family support, no one to help you, so you gotta be strong. I came, that was I think 2006 or 7, right? I came on a young immigrant who is looking for a bright future. Along the way, I found myself here. Happily married with 2 kids. I'm okay, I'm fine.
So how did you arrive here? Did you arrive by plane or did you come across as well, Mediterranean?
Yeah, I came to the Mediterranean Sea.
And was it difficult arriving here back then in 2006?
Wow, the journey is always difficult. It doesn't depend on the period. It's always difficult. It's a journey of death, which most of us normally say is a journey of going. You know when you're leaving, but you don't know when you come back or where you arrive. So it's always difficult, apart from the moment. Of course, unfortunately now, it's more difficult seeing the situation in Libya. The war that is going on, it's really, really difficult. Well, when I arrived then, there were less immigrants, not like now where you have a huge number of immigrants. It was a bit difficult, you know, but it all depends on what you want to do, what you want from the society. So I engaged myself immediately in terms of going to school, trying to learn the language. So unfortunately, I'm always a lucky man. I was able to find the right way.
As a translator working with the local Italian authorities, Johnny often finds himself visiting the squatted camp in an abandoned cement factory at Campobello di Mazara, which swells with mostly young migrant workers from sub-Saharan Africa, ready for each harvest.
We live in this place. We call it our second home because we're always here. I think, if I'm not wrong, there are more than 1,000 people. You can see a structure where there is no light, there is no water. So just imagine the amount of difficulties they are passing through there. It's very, very difficult. It's just like an abandoned area where no one is in control. So they try to survive there because fortunately most of them, they are without documents. I can say about 2 or 3 years ago, there were less numbers of immigrants living there. But fortunately after the Salvini law, where most of these immigrants, they were really affected to the document they have. So most of them, they lost their document through that process. So they have no place to go. They become invisible for the society. So they live in that place, as you can see.
The so-called Salvini laws Johnny mentioned began at the end of 2018 when the head of the League Party, Matteo Salvini, who was then Deputy Prime Minister, declared he would crack down on immigration. One of the changes the government made with its immigration and security law was to abolish humanitarian protection status, leaving a lot of asylum seekers destitute.
It's getting worse every day by day. As you can see at the entrance, you can see the amount of dustbin you can see there. For the past 2 years, no one passed to take the refuse there. Those guys, they are just living there. They are always angry. You can see them angry because they are tired. They have no place to go, no document, no way to work. Even though some of them, we are lucky, some of them have documents, they can't even find a house to rent. Because by the time you call those citizens here and say, I want to rent a house, where are you from? From Africa? No, there is no house from you. So they are forced to live in that little space.
The makeshift camp has already been destroyed several times by fire and even resulted in death. Johnny remembers the biggest fire in 2021 well.
Those guys there, they don't have lights. So they were using the generator. So fortunately, the generator got in fire. So everything was totally burned down, We lost one brother from Guinea who was asleep. He fell asleep. He was really tired from work because after they had labor job, sometimes they do work for 10 hours a day. And some of them do receive about 30 hours a day for this hard labor job. So the brother was really tired on that day. But fortunately, he couldn't escape. And we lost him.
When Johnny arrived here in Sicily, a lot of people crossing the Mediterranean came from sub-Saharan Africa. Over the years, the countries of origin of those who have arrived has changed. In 2022, the majority came from Egypt and Tunisia, with Bangladeshis following close behind. My colleague Arafatul Islam from InfoMigrants and Deutsche Welle's Bengali departments met many of them during the trip, which we began on the streets of the island's capital, Palermo. You've been meeting a lot of the Bangladeshi community in Sicily. What did you find?
I mean, mostly young people. I have seen a lot of young people. They're aged between 20 to 30. That's one group. And another group, they are really senior. They came to Italy at least 15 or 20 years ago and now have their families there. Their kids are growing and also they are involved in many kind of businesses. They are related to tourism.
How difficult or easy is it for Bangladeshi people to migrate to Italy? What did you find when you spoke to people?
My experience says almost all of them who are coming through irregular routes to Europe, they have this tendency of going to Italy first. So they somehow feel like Italy is a safe country for them and it's easier to get legalized in Europe when you are in Italy. And I talked to several people in Sicily already, and they have also told me the same thing. I even met someone, a young guy from Bangladesh, and first I saw him in Bosnia near Velika Kladusa, and there was a camp in a forest, and I saw him a few months ago there, and I interviewed him, and that time he was very frustrated, and he didn't know what to do, where to go. And just last night, I saw him again in Palermo. All of a sudden, he came with his scooter, and he was very happy. I mean, he looked very happy, and he has got a job in a restaurant and at a sushi bar, basically. And he works as a waiter there. He's quite happy. He bought a scooter recently. I mean, that costed 650 euros, and he sends money to Bangladesh. And what he told me that after reaching Italy, he got this one kind of stay permit for 6 months. And with this permit, he already can work. And also he's learning Italian language. So he's quite happy in Italy, even after coming just 2 or 3 months before he reached Italy through irregular routes. Through Croatia, Austria and Slovenia and these countries.
That was incredible, actually, because we were sitting after an interview. We'd just done some interviews in the street, hadn't we? And we were just sitting down to have a glass of water and something to eat. And then he suddenly came up behind us and was talking to you. And then you explained to me the story about him. And I just find it incredible that he already knew from Bosnia that he wanted to get to Italy. Can you tell me a bit more about him?
Oh, his name is Mahin. He's around 25, 26 years old. I mean, when I saw him in Bosnia, he came through this irregular route. And he's a bit shy of talking in detail, but what he told me that he tried to reach Italy from Bosnia a couple of times with the help of human traffickers, but that didn't work. But then he wanted to do it on his own. So he got Google Maps on his phone, and then using this Google Maps, he basically found a way to cross the border. And then he made it, whole journey, and he was accompanied by 18 other friends of him. So it's a group of 19 people, and all of them reached Italy in 12 days. He wants to build his future in Sicily. That's what he told me.
And you've got some clips of when you were talking to him in Bengali last night. What are we going to hear?
He explained me how did he come to Italy from Bosnia. This is one part, and also his future plan, what to do here, and what is he expecting for the next few months. Let's have a listen.
We know we shouldn't come this way into Europe, but we have no other choice. Somehow I made it here to Italy. It was a struggle to get here and difficult at the beginning. But I feel that if you can make it through those difficulties, you can have a good life here. You have to just take things step by step and life will gradually get better. I think that if you work hard, then you shouldn't face too many problems and you will be okay.
You also talked to Nurpur, right? Talking of future plans, someone who's much more established in Palermo. She has her whole family there. We went to her house, and her children speak fluent Bengali and fluent Italian, and English. And she's a teacher. And what did she tell you about her journey to Italy and how she and her family feel in Palermo?
everyone is happy in Sicily in a way, especially these Bangladeshi migrants. When I talked to Nupur, she was a teacher in Bangladesh, and she came to Italy more than a decade now. And basically first her husband came to Italy, and then she got this permission as his wife to come and live with him in Italy. And she's a businesswoman. She has a souvenir shop. Also, she's a part-time teacher, even in Sicily now, even in Palermo, because there is a big community of Bangladeshi migrants, like over 10,000 Bangladeshi migrants are there, and many of them have their families and kids here. So she teaches like Bengali language, English, and mathematics to these migrant kids. She does it at her home, and also sometimes she visits different houses to teach them as a tutor. Yeah, she said she feels like home in Palermo, and she has 2 kids, and she also thinks that that's the home for their kids, not Bangladesh. And she has this independence. She feels the freedom she has here. Like sometimes she compares it with Bangladesh, and she thinks that it's a bit difficult to do business in Bangladesh as a woman. But here in Palermo, she doesn't have any problem. She's quite happy here. She hasn't faced any kind of racism or anything. She feels like Italians are very welcoming. Italians have welcoming attitude towards migrants, and she has religious freedom here. There are a couple of mosques and madrasas. They do their Friday prayers together, so they're happy.
In Bangladesh, a woman faces many problems if she hopes to move forward and progress in life. I haven't faced any such problems here. People on this island of Sicily are very nice, very helpful. I don't know how to express their support in words. I just feel that everyone in this country is such a good human being.
You can try, then buy, no problem. You can try, then buy. Perfectly try. I have camera.
You're listening to the InfoMigrants Tales from the Border podcast. Myself, Emma Wallace, and my colleague Arafatul Islam are in Sicily, where we're meeting migrant communities on the Italian island. Where are we off to today, Arafat?
We are off to Ragusa today, so it's a bit far from Palermo. So I think we need to drive around 3 hours.
Le 6:35, buongiorno ascoltatrici, buongiorno ascoltatori, con un saluto e un ringraziamento agli amici.
We're now in Ragusa, in the other part of the island, in the sort of southeast of Sicily. And we've been here for a couple of days now, and we've been to some farms. There's acres and acres of farms and greenhouses in this area. It's kind of a golden triangle of agricultural land around Vittoria, Ragusa, and right down to the sea, basically. And this is an area that grows much of the agricultural produce, fruit and vegetables for not just Sicily and Italy, but also the whole of Europe, basically. They're constantly exporting all these vegetables. And we were lucky enough, through contacts of yours, Arafat, to go onto a Bangladeshi-run farm, and they're renting the land from Italians, and they're growing Bangladeshi vegetables and South Asian vegetables and chilies and all sorts. And it was just amazing, wasn't it?
Yes.
What did the guys that were working there tell you?
They basically export these vegetables to other countries, including Germany, in Berlin. And we saw someone just coming and grabbing all those vegetables that prepared to be exported to other countries and also to other cities of Italy. And one of the workers there, he told me that he gets like €5 an hour. And he's happy with this, and they work basically around 8 hours. They also live there. There is a small container. It's not very hygienic, I would say, and it's very dirty around, but it's still, they feel comfortable there. Staying or spending their nights there. These people that we both met, like there are 4 to 5 workers from Bangladesh. None of them have any complaint, so they think they are earning good, and they're sending money to their loved ones in Bangladesh, and they have a life there.
But would you say then that the Bangladeshi community in Sicily has a very different experience from some of the other migrant communities that we met. For instance, when we were in Campobello di Mazara, and they were mostly sub-Saharan African migrants staying in that illegal camp or squatting essentially in an abandoned cement factory. But the Bangladeshi community seems to have a very different experience.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they have a very different experience, and it's a big community in Italy. I mean, I think over 200,000 Bangladeshi migrants are staying in Italy, living in Italy. So it could be that this community is strong and they help each other. So whenever someone is new coming to the country, going to a different city, the person gets help from this community. This could be one thing, because I also noticed that they feel safe in Italy. I have visited different countries in Europe to talk to Bangladeshi migrants, and many of them are saying that, the first destination should be Italy, because it's easier to get legalized in Europe. When you are in Italy, every few years Italy has this mechanism to legalize irregular migrants. So they try to take this benefit, and also because of this community, I think it's easier for them to get jobs and overnight stay places and this kind of activities. So that's why they feel very much home in Italy. I was in Greece and I saw some villages. There are Bangladeshi farmers, but they are not very happy there. They are saying that they don't have any legal paper, they don't get paid regularly, and their living condition is very poor. So they had a lot of complaints in Greece, but in Italy, I have got this different feeling. In Italy, most of them are happy, they don't have any complaints, so they are saying that their life is very simple and comfortable in Italy. So this could be one thing that in all those farmlands they can go and work easily, and the way you said, they are paid, like even if they don't have papers or proper papers, they still somehow manage to get enough to send to Bangladesh. So this could be one reason. And also they are also involved in tourism. So Italy has very strong tourism industry, and many of them are finding jobs there.
Ok, possiamo andare ora, facciamo il giro.
Okay, so are you going to show me?
Yes, I show you
the allotment.
Our land. Okay.
At the project Proxima in Ragusa, staff like Letizia Blandino work hard to help workers who do find themselves being exploited get out of that negative cycle.
Okay. So we use, for example, compost to fertilize our land.
Proxima was set up in 2003 to help those who have been victims of trafficking and exploitation. Those who have joined the program may have been trafficked or forced to work in prostitution, or paid well below the minimum wage, or been exploited as children.
I'm Blessing. I'm from Nigeria. I've been here for 4 years now.
Blessing likes working in the tailoring workshops best and makes her own clothes, but sometimes she also works in the fields at Proxima.
We grow basilico in Italian. They call it basilico. I don't know.
Basil.
Okay, then different things. Vegetables, different type of vegetables, and salad, different type of salad.
Okay. And how old were you when you arrived in Italy? Because you look still very young.
I don't know if I can count it. I'm here for 4 years now, so I'm 26 years old.
Okay, so you were 22 when
I was 22 years.
Okay, wow. So you were pretty young.
Yes.
Yeah. Bless you, what are you doing?
I'm washing what they used to plant.
These are for the plants?
Yes, they put the one that there is they put plant inside.
Oh, cool. And you have to wash them in between each use?
Yes.
Okay.
Because they're already dirty, so before we use it, we have to wash it with jig, which is
bleach.
Bleach, yes. Then wash it with bleach.
The polystyrene boards Blessing is washing are used inside the hydroponic greenhouses, where rows upon rows of herbs and salads are growing vibrantly in pools of water. Nutrients from the water are provided by the project's carp ponds. Letizia Blandino works at the project in communications, and she also runs the tailoring workshop.
with us. There is a period of protection where they are at house to do the activity of to cooking. We have some activity, gym, or a theater, photograph, but they don't have money.
Because of this, says Letizia, some of those on the project keep contact with the criminals who exploited them in the first place and can sometimes slip back and decide to leave the project early.
Grazie. Grazie a lei.
Salve, il mio nome è Julian.
My name is Julian, and I am from Romania.
Julian and one of his sisters also work at Proxima, like Blessing. Before he and his sister found sanctuary here, his whole family were trapped working for I caporali, illegal gangmasters who exploit and abuse thousands of migrant workers throughout Italy.
Sono venuto in Italia un po' dopo il compimento di 13 anni.
I was pretty young when I arrived. It was just after my 13th birthday. There were us, 5 kids, and my parents, 7 people. At the beginning, we worked in the gangmaster system. I don't know if you know what that means, but basically, a guy brings you here and he says, I will give you work and a place to stay. And he drives you to the fields, and then he says you have to pay me €5 for that journey. That is what the gangmaster system is.
La mia scuola è stata fatta solo in Romania.
I stopped going to school when I left Romania. I started work here soon after I turned 14. I have been working since then. If I had known that I could go to school here, I would have continued going to school. But I didn't know that then. So I just went to work in the fields and carried on working in the greenhouses for €20 a day.
Praticamente lì vai per finire la giornata.
Working in the greenhouses, you are paid per day, depending on what you manage to negotiate. And the contracts are not really fixed. You turn up. You work for 8 or 9 hours a day. You don't get to take toilet breaks or decide when to stop. You are contracted to work 9 hours, and you are expected to work for that time.
In cambio qui vieni pagato dopo un contratto agricolo.
Here at Proxima, we are paid properly, and we are given a regular agricultural contract. In the greenhouses, you might have worked 30 days in the month, and you will find 10 days on your contract. They put fewer days down on the official contracts, so they have to pay less.
Io sapevo che non era giusto, naturalmente.
I knew it wasn't fair, even when I was working there. But I didn't have any other choice.
Non avevo altra scelta.
Letizia Blandino at Proxima sees many people in Julian's situation.
La cosa più triste è che sono magari tra connazionali che vengono.
Situations like Julian's are even sadder in a way because they're often exploited by people from the same country. It might be an uncle who says to their relative, "Come over here, I can get you work." They'll have no one to turn to and will rely for everything on the goodwill of the person who brought them over. There's no public transport there. They're forced to live in the worst sanitary conditions that don't respect any human rights or dignity. They live in shacks with no washing facilities or toilets. The women are often abused by the gangmasters or the owners of the farms.
Dai caporali, appunto, dai proprietari.
Now that Julian has escaped the exploitation of the gangmaster system, he is determined to work and study further and perhaps one day train as a mechanic. For now, he's happy to continue working in the gardens at Proxima.
I miei sogni niente, sto aspettando un figlio.
My dreams? Well, I'm expecting a son. I want to save enough to get a house with my partner and raise our son together. That's all I really hope for. I keep my dreams fairly contained and simple.
Prenderci la casa, crescere il nostro figlio tranquillamente, perché ora sono tranquillo.
Offering support for simple dreams is also what a Franciscan nun, Suor Chiara or Sister Chiara, is doing not too far away from Ragusa, in a town called Caltagirone, in Sicily's southern hinterland.
Io sono Suor Chiara del Cuore Immacolato e faccio parte della famiglia delle sorelle minori.
My name is Sister Chiara of the Immaculate Heart, and I'm part of the Sorelle Minore del Cuore Immacolato, the Little Sisters of the Immaculate Heart. And we live in a little convent in Caltagirone.
Che I migranti vivono un margine, vivono una periferia.
Migrants tend to live on the margins for all sorts of reasons. And I know we're a long way from being able to say that we're all living equally. I know that sometimes they also tend to marginalize themselves. But for us, they're always in our thoughts. They are not a mass. They're precious people, individuals who need to be looked after and loved. They're precious in God's eyes, and so precious for us too. The weakest in our society are often migrants. They might not know where to go, where to stay. So we offer them the chance to contact us and ask for help.
In particolare noi ci occupiamo delle ragazze che rimangono.
We welcomed several women who found themselves pregnant and so were no longer able to work on the street and therefore could not afford to pay their rent. We helped them bring their pregnancies to term and help them care for their new babies. I always well up when I talk about these children. The women often tease me about it. I often go into the delivery room with the women, so sometimes, as soon as they're born, they'll hand the baby quickly to me. I always cry at these moments. The miracle of life is just so beautiful to behold. I keep a baby's cot in my cell so that I can help out with the nighttime work for these new mothers and their babies.
Mamme, queste neomamme.
So many women have passed through our convent. Some have started families, some have found work, some have left Sicily, but we still regard them as part of our family. Lots of the women found work through our network of supporters who keep us going. But what I find the most heartwarming is that many of them also pop back to visit, just like children do with their mother. One girl in particular, she has a job, she has everything, but at the weekend she'll come back and see us. When they do come back, we help them out with their children. It's just like being in a family.
Ritorna sempre in convento, perché ha quel momento di casa. È come veramente una famiglia, no?
You've been listening to a special episode of InfoMigrants Tales from the Border podcast from Sicily, an island of migration, with me, Emma Wallace, and my colleague, Arafatul Islam.
On va vous poser des questions douloureuses. Maîtrisez-vous.
Soyez tranquille.